So I want to take you back 4 weeks. My brother and sister-in-law were here on the Sunday before I left for vacation. And they come to church occasionally when I'm here. They go to a very large ministry in Sarasota that has huge music budget and huge fog machine, and they do a whole thing, right? It's a big deal. And after service, as we were getting ready to go to lunch, they sat me down and said, Richard, I need you to know a couple things. And there's times when people just want me to hear how much they've been impacted by something, right? And they get very serious, and they go to their heart and say, Richard, that talk was phenomenal today. You touched me, you got me, you got both of us. And they said, we always get touched when we hear you speak. And I said, thank you very much. And they said, and that music. It's like, notice they said, and that music. That music was phenomenal. They're so good. And I said, I know, they're fabulous. But that congregation of yours, they're the most loving, kind, engaged, fully alive people that we've ever been around. They said, they are living your message. And I thought, that's really it. Those three things. If the Rev and I can provide Sunday morning messages that meet your spiritual needs, that touch your heart and mind, if the music can take us up a notch, and if the congregation can live this, we are a ministry that is serving humanity and our community in the greatest possible way. And I want you to see that your role is not just being here as a passive receiver. Your role in this ministry is to be the living demonstration of all that we teach. Because we can talk about it, we can sing about it, but this spiritual stuff doesn't make sense until it's what? Until it's lived. And we all have a responsibility in that. We all have to let our light shine, and people get it. They see it. It's profound when you see a congregation that's on fire with the good news of what God's doing in your life. And so what I want you to see is as we move back into season and as we move into the next level of this ministry, there's a three-prong approach to us building this ministry. Great Sunday morning messages to the very best of our ability. Inspiring, uplifting music that heals and blesses us. But then each one of us has to live this message to the best of our ability, because that's when the ministry becomes from being an abstract idea to a living presence that transforms lives. Amen? Today I want to talk about feelings. Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. That was the whole thing. That's as far as I'm going. Have you ever had a feeling you didn't want to have? Do you have a favorite feeling that you resist? Right? Does anybody have a feeling that you just have such a hard time with that you will do practically anything not to feel that feeling? Anybody love jealousy or disappointment or anger or rage? Does anybody have a feeling that you are just 100% committed that you will do anything in your power not to feel that feeling? What about, do you have people in your life that are having a feeling about you that you would rather they not? Feelings are interesting. They're messy, they're hard. Sometimes they just kick us right in the gut. I've always had a mastermind group. And one of my mastermind groups that I've had for years, we used to share not only out loud our prayer request or the thing that we were holding as a group for each other, but we would also share out loud our forgiveness step. So we would say, like, I'm forgiving this, or I'm forgiving this, and then we would add to the group, because the group could then hold that you were actually forgiving that thing. And in one of the groups, one of my mastermind partners says, I forgive Richard. And, everything they share is confidential, and we do it in an atmosphere of prayer, and says, I forgive Richard. And I'm thinking, okay. There's a whole lot of things I need forgiveness for, so you just pick whatever one you want, right? So I went home and said, Jill, one of the guys in my mastermind group said, I forgive Richard. And she said, do you think he was talking about you? I said, I don't know. And he said, do you know what it's about? I said, I don't know. And she said, are you going to ask him about it? I said, no. He said, I'm already forgiven. Why would I go there? So last week we began a 4-week series based on Mel Robbins' book, best-selling book, Let Them. It's our way of letting go of control of the world so that we can manage our own feelings, so that we can spend more time in peace. And our affirmation is together, let them. Let them. Whatever crazy, wonderful, nutty idea or experience they want to create in their life together, let them. If they want to play every rule and do it exactly right over and over again, or if they want to break every rule together, let them. And how many of you have got an opportunity to practice that this week? Did you find some people it was much easier to say let them, and some people it was like, oh no, we are not going there. So Monday morning, just started this series. Monday morning, I'm in my office and I get a call from a telemarketer who says, your doctor has requested a back support system, and I'm the Medicare office, and we're going to send you this. I said, what? They said, we represent this orthopedic thing, and we're going to send you this back support system. And I said, what doctor? Well, we're not at liberty to say that, but all you have to do is authorize it, and we will send it to you through Medicare. Yes, I'm old enough for Medicare. I know I don't look it, but yes, I am. And we will send you this through Medicare, and all you have to do is authorize. I said, what doctor? I don't have back pain. And what they said, well, we also have a knee brace that we'd be happy to send you. I said, wait, stop, what is this? And I want you to know that it was very, very difficult for me to get to let them. I wanted to tell that sleazy telemarketer what a poor excuse for humanity he was. I wanted to judge him. I wanted to absolutely, this violates everything I believe in, and I wanted to just bless him. And finally I thought, if someone from the congregation walks in front of my office right now and says, when Richard's raising his voice, do you really think he's letting them? I'd have to say no. So what I want you to hear is sometimes in your life, this concept of let them is so hard because life will find the way to touch the very thing that you want to judge the heck out of. Life will find the very thing that pokes you in the place where you hate to be poked, and you're going to have to decide how big is your commitment to let them, because sometimes it feels so categorically wrong to say in the moment, to say to life, to say in the situation, let them. And for the next 3 more weeks, I'm going to invite you to practice even when you don't want to, and just see the impact it has on you. Because how many of you have ever tried to change the people that are important to you in your life? What's your batting average with that? Right? Probably not very high. So if we're not trying to change the world, who can we change? The only person we have any control over is us. Together, let them. So today we're going to talk about managing feelings. And I really can't say that without breaking into that song. Feelings. So really there's 3 ways to manage our feelings. The first way that we try to manage your feelings, and you don't have to raise your hand if this is your methodology. The first way that we try to manage our feelings is to shut them all down. Like there's some of us who have made a commitment that we are going to try to the very best of our ability not to have any feelings. Or if we have a feeling, it's just going to be the happy little ones around the corners. We're not going to let ourselves have bad feelings because bad feelings hurt, so we're just not going to do it. So what we try to do is that whenever we feel pain or sadness or grief, we just want to shut them down. We want to shut our heart down. We just don't want to hear it. We become more and more intellectual. We become smarter and smarter. And we begin to live from that intellectual place because we don't want to have a feeling, so we just stay in our head. And the problem with this methodology is not only when you start shutting down your feelings, you don't only shut down the difficult feelings, but you shut down all feelings. So your feelings of joy and peace and love are also diminished because we become more and more intellectual. Now, the second way that we do this is that we begin to try to change or manipulate our world so we never have to have a difficult feeling. And I want you to see that both of these methodologies take an immense amount of work because now you've got to manipulate and control and change everything in your life so that nothing gives you a feeling that you don't want. So you're either denying you have feelings or you're manipulating the heck out of everybody around you so they never make you feel something you don't want to feel. And both of them are a tremendous amount of energy, a tremendous amount of work because you're committed not to have a feeling that you don't want to have. Now, the third way is radical. You actually let yourself feel the feeling, right? You realize that all feelings are temporary. You let yourself have the feeling. And what you begin to do is just notice. You pay attention to the feeling. Where is that in my body? Where's the feeling that I'm having right now? Where do I store that? Do I store it in my back? Do I store it in my throat? Do I store it in my heart? Where do I store this feeling? And you begin to notice those feelings. And then you begin to name those feelings. You actually begin to label them. Oh, that's sadness. That's anxiety. That's frustration. That's anger. And you begin to name those feelings. When my kids were small, we got a chart that had 84 feelings. And sometimes when our kids were small, they weren't sure what the feeling they were having. So we would help them kind of identify the basic feelings, and then there were more deeper than that. But we wanted to make sure that they could actually go to the chart when they were upset and say, oh, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling jealous, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad. And they could actually point to the chart. Now, some of us didn't get that help as children, right? So some of us, believe it or not, still have a really hard time identifying what we're feeling. And sometimes we just lump them into good feelings and bad feelings. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a very sophisticated process. It actually becomes more beneficial when you can actually name it. Notice it and name it. And then the third step in this process is accept the feelings are normal and temporary and allow yourself to experience them so that you can release them. Because if you're having a feeling, how long does a feeling last? What we find is if you actually allow yourself to feel it, the feeling doesn't last very long, and we can actually give that feeling back to God. Oh, I'm cranky. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I'm scared. I'm frustrated. God, I give you that feeling so that I can release it. And we just find that process moves along so much quicker, and that we don't have to manipulate our world. We don't have to change our world. We can just have a feeling, feel it, notice it, name it, and then release it and give it back to God. And then all that energy, whatever we give God, whatever that energy is, instantly is purified and comes back as grace. I want you to hear that. Every time you give the infinite a feeling, that energy of that feeling is instantly purified and comes back as grace. It comes back as pure energy that you can use to create the life that you want. So feel it. Notice it. Name it. Accept it. And then release it. Let them. Together. Let them. Let them. And notice as you let go, that it opens room for you to have whatever feeling you're having so that you can feel it and then release it. I want to read from Mel Robbins' book, page 39. This is a quote about Martin Luther King III. True power lies in our response. While working on this book, I had the honor of sitting down with Martin Luther King III and Andreas Walter King, and a global human rights advocate and co-authors of What's My Legacy. I was appearing on their podcast, My Legacy, and we were talking about the let them theory when Martin said something that I want to share with you now. He said that the let them theory represents a profound truth. Choosing peace is not weakness, it is power. This idea resonates deeply with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and his father's vision of nonviolence. Let them doesn't mean giving away control, it means reclaiming it. By choosing how we respond, by not feeling anger, hatred, or negativity, we exercise the ultimate within ourselves. King once said who faced unimaginable losses, I refuse to let hatred reduce me. This message is a call to recognize the strength we hold in our response, that one can transform our families, communities, even the world. I sat across from the Kings and listened to Martin and Andreas share this with me. I felt humbled knowing that this theory is much bigger than we are, than I am or you are. It embodies an important truth about life. You always have the power, no matter what is happening around you. Martin added, true power lies in our response. My father believed that nonviolence was not passive, but the most courageous form of action, choosing peace when hatred tries to provoke us, by refusing to react with bitterness to reclaim our power and shape a better future. See, what I want you to see is that in every situation, there's a stimulus, and then there's our response. And over again, there's a stimulus, something happens in your life, and then you get to decide how you want to respond to it. And most of us, our response is unconscious. We just respond the way we've always responded. And if we begin to practice this idea of let them, what happens is it creates this gap between the stimulus and our response where we actually say, let them. And then it actually creates a longer pause when then we get to choose how we're going to respond to life. In the underground, in the subways of London, there's a sign all over that says, mind the gap. Mind the gap. And the idea of the gap is between the cement walkway and the subway, there's a space. And what they don't want you to do is get sucked into that space. But this idea of mind the gap is spiritually powerful. Because with every stimulus, with every situation, with every moment, then there's this gap that we get to decide how we're going to respond to it. And that gap has the power for us to just say, let them do, let them think, let them be. And that's now God's job. It is not our job to correct humanity. Our job is to live our own spiritual life and do the very best we can. So here are two questions that I want you to be asking yourself instead of focusing on everybody else. And the first one is simply, what am I feeling? And I want you to ask yourself that about 100 times a day. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? Richard, that's so redundant. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? I want you to ask yourself that so that every moment you actually know what you're feeling. Because one of the biggest parts of our spiritual journey is waking up, is becoming conscious. And some of us go weeks unconscious. And the act of asking ourselves, what am I feeling, actually wakes us up, and we have to become more self-aware. So what am I feeling? And then the very next question is, and what do I want? And those two questions actually move the focus off of everybody else and puts the focus of our life back on us. What are you feeling and what do you want? See, I get it that everybody's doing whatever they're doing. But what are you feeling and what do you want? Because that's the path of empowerment. When you know what you're feeling and what you want, you can actually create it. But when we're focused on everybody else's story and everybody else's drama and what they're doing and this isn't right and blah, 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 blah. It's a little overwhelming. So what are you feeling? And what do you want? Well, Richard, that's so self-centered. I should be asking, what's the best for them? Okay, well, how's that working? What are you feeling? And what do you want? And if everyone became that self-aware, we could actually create a world that works for everyone. One of the things my wife and I do is when we are going out to dinner, we used to spend a lot of time asking each other, well, what do you want? 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 And so then we would just drive around, right, until we ran out of gas or something. You know, we ran into a Burger King or whatever. And finally we began to say, okay, we both would have to get clear within ourselves what we wanted, and then we both say it out loud at the same time. And it was amazing because when we got to clarity, it was so much easier for us to find common ground when we kept asking the other one, wanting the other one be responsible for our restaurant choices. We would just drive around forever and ever, right? Till we got so excited or just so tired that peanut butter and jelly looked like a fabulous choice at home. So what are you feeling and what do you want? See, the whole thing about this, let them, is there's a circle around each one of us. You can't see it, but there's a circle around each one of us. And the circle encompasses all that you're thinking and feeling and all that you want to create in your life. And it's all in this circle. And outside your circle is everybody else and their drama and their thoughts and their feelings and what's going on for them. And sometimes we spend so much time outside of our circle and other people's circle that we never really move our life forward. And for the next 3 weeks, what if you had to stay inside your circle? What if you had to stay right here in your own sense of happiness or fulfillment? See, this is the kicker for me. And this is like the only sentence that I really want you to hear me say today. You can listen to all the rest of it, but this is the sentence. That as we emotionally detangle from the people around us, Spirit can finally heal our emotions. But when we are tangled up into everybody else's drama and story, Spirit can't heal our own emotional woundedness because it's so involved with everybody else. See, I believe that our emotions are actually here as a spiritual benefit. Our emotions are here to take us to a higher and higher vibration so that we can feel greater love and joy and peace, and then we can finally touch the ecstasy of God. But when we're doing this emotional entanglement dance with everyone around us, we are so entangled with everybody else's emotions that Spirit can't heal us. And when we're not really healed, we're just doing this dance. And we're not really spiritually moving forward. I believe that if we want to heal and heal deeply, we have to begin to emotionally begin to disentangle from the people around us and let them have their own experience. Let Spirit heal them the way Spirit can heal them. And let Spirit heal us the way our emotions need to be healed so that we can know higher, greater, finer levels of love, peace, and joy, and we can actually touch the ecstasy of God. See, I believe that let them is absolutely a necessary step in our spiritual evolution so that we can allow the world to be responsible for the world and we be responsible for ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we're not helpful. It doesn't mean that we're not kind. It doesn't mean that we don't serve the people around us, but we get our own house in order. We get our own emotional life healed so that we can serve one another, not from our woundedness, but from our wholeness. When we say let them, we are not telling the world to take a flying leap. We are actually saying, God, I need you to be in charge of them because I've tried and it didn't work so well. So now you're in charge of their healing. You're in charge of their emotional life. You're in charge of their choices, and I'm going to stay in my circle. And I'm going to ask myself, what am I feeling and what do I want? And I'm going to invite the Holy Spirit to heal my emotional life so that I am free to be the greatest expression of God I can be. Together, let them. Together, let them. One more time. Let them. See, we're at a critical point in our world's evolution. Like, it's now go or no go. And we're either going to move forward and heal ourselves and heal the planet, or we're going to stay in this drama that we are doing incessantly forever. I don't know about you, but if you've even turned on the news, you see a very high level of drama this planet is doing right now. We need to change that. Let them. And you invite God to come into your heart and heal your emotional life so that your heart is whole and well and an expression of God. Will you pray with me? I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God. That there is but one presence and one power, God the good. Today, God, I give you my heart. I give you all my emotions. I give you my story, my drama, my upset, my woundedness. I give it all to you. And I ask that you heal my emotions. All my emotions. And I let everybody else be responsible for themselves. I turn them over to your care and your keeping. You know how to heal them. You know how to change them. I don't. So instead of focusing on everybody else's drama, I want to heal my own. I want to heal my own heart. I want to know the ecstasy of God. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. God bless you all. Have a great week.